Have you ever had an ordinary day become extraordinary? Imagine with me an average, freezing cold January day. The year was 1989. I was making coffee when the doorbell rang. It was a delivery of a mysterious envelope. I opened the envelope and a ticket fell out. The letter said, "You are the winner of a 2-week, all-expense-paid trip for 2 to Florida." Wow. I vaguely recalled entering a draw at the grocery store back in November. Have you ever won a draw at the grocery store before? I did not expect to win. But in that winning moment, an ordinary day became extraordinary. I immediately called my mom to tell her the incredible news. "Mom, I just won a trip for 2 to Florida." She simply said, "Go and live." That day, I began to live with the attitude of a traveler. Every day was filled with excitement and energy as I anticipated and began the 2-month countdown to my trip to Florida. My eyes were wide open. There was a surge of sunny optimism that came into my gray sky existence. I invited my friend Dee to join me. She loved adventure. She's the kind of girl who always went on the black run when she went skiing, and she had a let's go kind of attitude. The 2 months passed by, and March arrived. We flew to the Sunshine State. I drank in every detail of the swaying palm trees, the crashing waves, and the warmth of the sand. Every day in Florida was filled with observation, optimism, and the opportunity to see new things and to explore what was around us. The time seemed to fly by. With heavy hearts, we headed home to life as we knew it. I began to think how awesome it was to live as a traveler. How do you become the kind of person who just loves life and who lives every day with amazing attitude of adventure? As I thought about this, I realized a traveler has 3 traits. The first trait is observation. Observation is the keen ability to notice details and to be incredibly curious to know more. By simply observing where you live with fresh eyes, both in your city, neighborhood, and community. It was a beautiful August day when my husband Colin and I headed to the Sunflower Festival. Picture with me a field of sunflowers playing a silent symphony of yellow. Into this gorgeous landscape, we walked through row after row of beautiful flowers. They were so unique, both in their color and their shape. We were in awe. They brought us a lot of joy. Now, Colin is a science enthusiast. Everywhere he goes, he notices small details and wonders. And he asked me a question that day. He said, "Jeanie, have you ever really looked inside a sunflower?" Have you ever looked inside a sunflower? Like really looked at the center? I know that I hadn't. I had merely glanced at it, completely unaware of the wonder that was inside it. That day, I became aware of the fact that tucked inside a sunflower is a most amazing and precise pattern, a mathematical marvel actually, called the Fibonacci Sequence. Now, the Fibonacci Sequence is repeated throughout nature. You can find it in petals, pine cones, and even pineapples. This amazing pattern is so beautiful, and I would have missed it if I hadn't had Colin remind me to just take a look at the sunflower. There is beauty and wonder all around us if we just take the time to notice. Secondly, a traveler embraces optimism. Optimism is the ability to squeeze each day with reckless joy. However, we have to admit that life has deeply hard moments. Moments when loss clouds all optimism. Have you ever lost someone you love? Felt the sting of a workplace cutback? Or been betrayed by a friend or a spouse? The year was 1993. I could not imagine having any optimism in my life at that time. It was an icy Alberta day. The winter was bitter. The fingers of grief gripped me hard. My heart was cold. As a family, we had just received the difficult news that my mom had advanced cancer. We were told she only had weeks to live. We sat around her bed as a family in a bleak hospital room. The days seemed long and hope far away. The ring of the phone brought the voice of a friend. "Jeanie, would you like to go to Lake Louise today with me?" "What? Lake Louise today? My mom is sick." "Just a moment," I said to my friend as I laid the phone down. I turned to my mom. "Mom, my friend is calling. She wants me to go to Lake Louise." "How can I go to Lake Louise? I don't feel up to it." My mom looked at me steadily. She raised her hand and she said, "Go and live." My friend met me later that day at the hospital entrance, and we headed to Lake Louise. If you've never been to Lake Louise, you must go. It's beautiful. As we drove along through the mountains, I drank in the beauty of the snow-capped mountains. As we arrived at Lake Louise, I loved the exquisite chateau, the gorgeous ice sculptures, and the sound of skates on the ice. And in that moment, life was beautiful, sad, yet beautiful. The next day, I told my mom all that we had seen, and her eyes sparkled as she imagined Lake Louise in the winter. I realized that that day I had lived for both of us. A few weeks later, goodbye came for my mom. As a family, we stood like a circle of living ice sculptures in a snowy cemetery. My eyes noticed the sparkle of the snow and the beauty of the roses, and I remembered a life well lived. As we walked away, our footsteps crunched in the snow that day, and I remembered my mom's words. She said, "Go, live." The average lifespan is 80 years. We have 24 hours in a day, 1,440 minutes. How can we live those mundane minutes as memorable moments? What if we woke up every day with a grateful attitude that we get to live? Optimism is a daily choice. The third trait of a traveler is to be open for opportunity. Well, there are museums and there's art galleries. There are musical concerts and there are even virtual tours that we can go on of sightseeing anywhere in the world. All are available even when boarding a plane isn't possible. In March of this year, Colin and I headed down to the Vancouver Convention Centre to attend the Immersive Van Gogh art exhibit. It was amazing. We walked into the room and were met with floor-to-ceiling projections of this amazing artwork. It was set to classical music that carried us back as if we were time traveling to Holland and France in simpler times of the 1800s. The swish of his brush came to life as we literally stepped into his artwork. It was amazing. As I looked around, I was filled with wonder at the other people that were there enjoying this as well. I saw a woman who was conducting to the classical music. Thought she must have led an orchestra at one time, and this just inspired her. There was a little girl who was just dancing as if nobody else was around. And we stood there in awe of this amazing artwork. It was fascinating and dreamy to just step into the countryside and to look up at the clouds and then to get lost in the mystery of the night sky with its swirling yellow lights. It was amazing. When it came to be time to go, it just seemed too soon. We found we didn't want to leave. To live like a traveler is to be open to opportunities. Yes, life can be challenging and uncertain, but there is hope. The next time you feel trapped in a mundane existence, take a moment to remember. We do not have to seek fresh sights when there are fresh eyes within us. We don't have to wait for some special occasion when there is so much beauty and wonder all around us. We do not have to go somewhere exotic if adventure lives in us. To live like a traveler is a daily choice. To all of you travelers, go and live. Let's make today extraordinary.